To make the koftas, you take a pound of minced lamb. It's terribly important to get a very fine mince. So if you get a coarse mince from the shop, then bring it home and put it in your mincer or put it through a food processor and get it fairly fine. And also don't worry about the amount of fat that's in the meat, because the fat helps to keep the meatballs very tender and soft. Into this mince, I'm going to put in half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of ground coriander, a quarter teaspoon of garam masala. Now we've made that before in an earlier program, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne. That goes in. I'm also going to put in 2 tablespoons of very finely minced fresh coriander. It's finely chopped. And if you can't get fresh coriander, don't worry about it. Get fresh parsley and chop that up very fine. So that goes in. And also, another thing that keeps the koftas very soft and moist is yogurt, plain yogurt. So I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons of plain yogurt into this as well. And all this will be mixed very nicely. Now, again, you can mix this ahead of time if you have the time. If you have another half hour or an hour to fool around with, mix this ahead of time and set it aside. Otherwise, do it at the last minute. Doesn't really matter. Mix it well. This is terribly important that you don't have little lumps of salt in one place and cumin in another place. All right. Once the minced lamb has been mixed very well, you form the meatballs. It's a very good idea, I think, to dampen your hands in cold water. I'll tell you why. The meat doesn't stick to your hands this way. And the way I do it is I always make 2 meatballs at the same time. Of course, it's faster this way, and also you get a sense of the weight of the 2 meatballs, and they're the same weight this way. So you form the 2 meatballs like this, 2 at a time, and then set them aside, and you make all your meatballs this way. Once the meatballs have been made, you have to go on with making the sauce. Now, for the sauce, I have here a bowl in which I have 5 cloves of garlic and an inch piece of fresh ginger, which have been blended together and with 4 tablespoons of water. Now, this blending you can do in a food processor, you can do in an electric blender, or if you have none of these electric gadgets, you can use a grater, grate the 2 things, and then add the 4 tablespoons of water. And into this mixture of garlic and ginger, I'm going to put in a teaspoon of ground cumin, a teaspoon of ground coriander, a teaspoon of paprika, and a quarter teaspoon of cayenne. The paprika is what gives it a nice red color. So all of these go in as well. And I shall mix this, and this is the spice paste that we are going to use in our sauce for the koftas. Now proceed with making the sauce. Here in this pot, I have 5 tablespoons of vegetable oil, which I heated, and into that hot oil I put in an inch stick of cinnamon, 6 whole cardamom pods and 6 whole cloves, and I stirred them around for 5 seconds. Then I put in 4 ounces of very finely chopped onions, and I browned them. As you can see, they're quite brown. Don't worry, they're not burnt, they're brown. And this again is very important for a lot of Indian cooking.